Yeah, so like this IQ is like a good kind of example of IQ and Roku were really good examples of why like your gappers, they have to be so clean, right? Like you could see both of them yesterday, they gap up and you're thinking like, okay, maybe they got some news out, but they just roll right over because when the gap isn't clean, they just kind of do that. And kind of Roku was the same way. Like it kind of just didn't clear it enough. And so like you gapped up and then it actually went green to red, right? Which is a couple things. It's like a product of the market, of course, but then it's also a product of, right, the fact that the daily chart is just not there. And when you get that, it's just not going to work. And so we've got to always be kind of careful of what kind of gaps we're playing here. But you're seeing some good action in the markets today. Oh, I just saw this PTI start to go. Holy moly. Let me see what the news is real quick. Dun 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 dun, healthcare, blah 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 blah. Was surging by 200. Well, at the time it was 127% after some preliminary results from 3 doublet cohorts of early stage trials of its combination. Blah 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 blah. Cystic fibrosis. Blah 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 blah. Hey, whatever, man. If it's moving, it's moving, right? If she'll have me, I'll take her. Okay, so this thing is starting to clear like some levels over here. This has actually got a 20 million share float, so it's not like a micro float stock like a Yecco. This one is, frankly, it's a little bit heavier in market cap, and so that's kind of interesting that it's actually making such a big move. So it's already up it's a doubled over here. So I put this on the list. The caveat is just don't chase the thing. If you start buying it at $6-7 without a pattern, you're gonna get smoked out, right? Usually something like this, like if it's up that much, I won't even try to ORB it at the open. I'll let it pull back and do like a 9 EMA round or something like that. I find them just to be a little bit easier to manage the risk on the trades. When you get something moving around. Now, a good thing is this float is a little bit higher, so you won't have necessarily as much spread as you would see like at a Yecco or something like that, because frankly, like that, that's the one that can really, really get a little bit ganar. In terms of, let's take just a quick look at the market. The market's having a little bit of a weak open, but nothing too crazy. There was some good volatility yesterday. The market opened up strong, and then it literally flushed down, and the market was down a couple hundred points. You were really thinking like, shit, right? The bear is back. And then just lo and behold, the dip buyers came in, supported the market, which is really good action. That's really positive. When you're thinking about markets, not just the chart, right? You have one thing, which is the chart, but you also have to start to think about what's the action, what's the price action, right? Price action rules everything. And so when you're watching price action itself and you start to see, right, like dip buyers start to emerge at key points, then that's really kind of like a bullish action, right? You want to see buyers step in when things get really nasty, because like yesterday when they're getting nasty, if they just pulled the plug, right, you could have seen a move back down into this range. But like when you have a range like this and you jump down, you're down a couple hundred points, and then like you hold the range, that ends up being like a really positive thing. So I thought yesterday, even though the market was flat, it had a bullish undertone to it. And so just something to kind of keep in mind of, hey, Mr. Winter, how you doing? Kent, what's up, baby? Let's take a look at some of the stocks today. So obviously Yecco was the hot stock yesterday. This thing ran from like, what, a couple bucks to 14. It's already starting to fade off some of its gains here. It was up 50% at one point. Now it's only up 8, so the kind of the pre-market action is a little bit suspect. When you see something like this, you got to be really careful, especially if you're brand new. Guys, if you're brand new on this stuff, then this is a much tougher trade, because you can see like it opens up pre-market at 17. It's already down at 11. How do you handle that kind of range? If you're a brand new trader, that might be a little bit too risky for you. For some people, that kind of range is good, right? Because you can really kind of ebb and flow around it. Day ones, when they start to trend, they're really easy. But once the easy money's been over, the volatility and the range widens and it becomes tougher to trade. And frankly, you're just able to make more mistakes. So for me, this is like kind of a B- today. It's something we'll watch, but it's not a fave. I got this URI on watch list today. Even though they beat estimates, raised guidance, it's still dropping after hours. But, you know, you've got kind of a longer-term rollover pattern over here, and you've had a bear flag here for the last few days. You know, if it can stay under 136, I'll look at this for a potential ORB. Asima, how you doing? I'll look at this for a potential ORB, but only under 136. So when you think about trading and like stocks that have earnings, so the good thing, guys, is that it's earnings season has started. When you see this ticker here, AA, that kicks off earnings season, right? Because that's the first letter in the alphabet for those of you guys that don't read so good. So when you think about gapper plays, if it's hanging out under your key level and it's building under there, then you've got patterns that you can take. But what happens is if you bust over it and then you see an intraday pattern that you think is good, it's not going to work because you're not holding under that thing. So what you want to do is you break below and then you build, right? Or if you have a breakout on your daily chart, you break above, then you build. But if you're in between, then it's not going to work, right? So just always something to just keep mind of when you're going through these things. So I keep this URI on the watch list. TXT, so this is a defense company. It's getting smoked out today too. They actually missed estimates. You got this gap down under the 200 SMA. If you're looking at its weekly chart, it's got some room to fall down to like maybe 48 even. You have really no levels of resistance till, you know, you don't really have any level of resistance till maybe 50. So this thing's got room to fall. Its float's only 225 million, which is good for the short side because it gives you liquidity and still a decent amount of range. I always find that kind of like between 100 to 250 seems to be a nice sweet spot for liquidity purposes, but also range, you know, in terms of it can still move $3, $4. Remember, you don't always have to just trade small cap stocks, right? You have 200 shares of a $50 stock, it's moving around $4 or $5. You're still going to be able to trade pretty well. This is top of the list for me. Watch that pre-market low too on this thing. Remember, let these things build under their key levels. This C, we had a bear flag over here on its daily chart, starting to gap down. You can see this one also, really a longer term rollover. There's a lot of room to fall on this one. When you get that kind of topping action where it curls over, see how like you start to, right? You roll it over. That's a longer term rollover pattern. So as long as it can kind of hold, right, and start to build. I watched this one for an ORB. But the ORBs on the short side have not been working well. So one thing to remember when the SSR's on, what has been working well is letting them pop and then they roll over. Like kind of like IBM yesterday. You know, like when it started, you couldn't short it at the open. You know, what ended up happening was like you'd have to let it pop and then it rolls over. And then you let it pop and then it kind of rolls over, right? And then you get the good range out of it. So that's what it's going to be. Hey, Alpha, how you doing, brother? Good to see you. Guys, give me the tickets. What are you guys watching? Mr. Harper, what you watching? Asima, what you watching? Anthony, how you doing, my friend? ¿Cómo estás? So that's where you want to short into the pop when those SSRs on and then let them roll over. I think that's where you got to go with these things, and you'll have a lot more juice on these bad boys. Take this IQ off the list. This was unclean yesterday. Junk, right? And then this PTI could be, you know, this PTI could be the hot one today. Keep an eye on it. So it's even hanging out. Notice how it's still hanging here pre-market, right? This thing may just break out right into the open. So just something to kind of keep mind of. On the other side of things, put plan on your list. This is an IPO breakout. Guys, IPOs have been hot this year. When you get an IPO breakout like that, they tend to have good range. That's been the hot sector this year. HMNY, where do you find these things? You love those little penny guys. And my man, HMNY. I mean, you're in a boot camp class and we're talking about patterns and you bring me this junk. Get out of here. I love you, but Jesus. Jacob, what's going on? Yeah, probably a little bouncy, but nothing too crazy. Guys, keep some shorts on the watch list. This SQ's turning into a bear flag. Roku turning into a bear flag. Add this HD for a short too. This one was getting smoked out yesterday. This one, if it breaks below yesterday's low, Jacob, this is probably more for you. This is more prop trading style setup here. A little bit thicker. Anthony, do you not listen to anything? What does small account have to do with small stocks? Nothing. I want you to rewind bootcamp class. Didn't we just talk about this for an hour yesterday? Small account does not mean small stocks. They have nothing to do with each other. But what do I know? I've only been doing this my whole life. Yeah. Now, 25 up to 50, right? This thing's come back down. You may see some rounding action on it. The one thing to remember is this thing did fade over hardcore yesterday, so you got to be a little bit careful with this one. You know, it had a sweet pop at the open and then just completely rolled over. So, yeah, MRN looks good too. This one's a little bit of a grinder. I always find that, like, when they start grinding like this, back into these highs, they end up trading a lot more choppy for me. So, you know, overall, there's still a lot of good stocks running around. Let's go do what we do. Yeah, this PTI is, I think, this one's going to be the heater for today. So, we'll go out and do what we do. HMNY has no hope. June, you know that. All right, let's go do what we do. I love you, Anthony. I'm just teasing you. Well, I'm not teasing about the stock. That stock's a hoe. But I am teasing about everything else because you're my favorite in this new class. You ask all the good questions. Boot camp class was fun yesterday, wasn't it? Cool. All right, my friends. It's game time. It's show time. As always, let me know if you ever need anything. Peace.